Good morning.
Aloha.
So there's a bonus today. We're going to start with Stevie Nicks, and then we're going to show a little TikTok video too. So some of you that just joined us, now we're going to go to the actual TikTok version.
You go, here you go again. You say you want your freedom. Well, who am I to keep you down?
How many views do you have now?
It's over. We're going to show another clip of him being interviewed. So that was a TikTok video that became famous.
What makes something viral?
When I was turning, and then I go to pull over, so I reached over to grab my board because I always have it in my car, grab my juice out.
Let me rewind it just a little bit.
Cars, it shut off when I was turning, and then I go to pull over, so I reached over to grab my board because I always have it in my car, grab my juice that was with me, took off up the highway. So I was like, let's do this, you know what I mean? I just pressed it. I had less than 10 minutes at that time to get to work, so I'm like, all right, let's go.
It's only right that you should play the way you feel it.
It was at 100,000 after an hour, I think it was. And then after that, it went to 400,000 at 12 o'clock lunch break. Last time I seen it, it was at 18 million.
One of those 18 million, Mick Fleetwood himself, bottle of juice and all.
It's only right that you should play the way you feel it.
Nathan's video is so popular that digital sales of dreams have spiked nearly 400%. A pretty incredible achievement for Nathan, who was once homeless.
I'm not deprived or anything. I don't want to be America's charity case, you know. I have work. I do have a place to shower.
But the donations have been pouring in anyway.
One of the biggest ones was 200, you know, that was crazy. I was like, how can somebody be like, here's $200, you know? I was like, I worked, you know, 3-4 days just for $200, you know what I mean? And they're like, here you go. And then I'm just like, you know, stay blessed, you know, that's it's crazy. Take time out of the day to do you. As long as you're happy inside, you know what I mean, you can make a positive image outside.
And check this out. Nathan was just given a car by the Juice Company. Posted this TikTok video in his new ride. Still singing Fleetwood Mac. My man is a whole vibe right there. Just won 2020.
All right, Lisa, it's all you.
You just never know what video is going to go viral.
I know. It's always fascinating. I was like, wait, I didn't see it from the beginning. What's this going on with this guy?
Want to see it from the beginning, or it's really short? Did you see the original video?
I did not see the original video. Tell me about it. No, tell me what.
Oh, so this gentleman was on his way to work, and his truck broke down. And so he was close enough to where he could take out his longboard and, you know, get to work. And so he did, but he just happened to, on a whim, he was like, I'm just going to take an image of this or record it on TikTok. And so he was drinking some ocean spray at the time and, you know, taking a TikTok video on his way to work, and it just went viral. So.
Oh, that's great. I love it. And then he was saying people he gave him money, donated money to.
Yeah, Ocean Spray actually gifted him a cranberry red truck with a life. Oh my God, I think it's a lifetime supply, or definitely a full of Ocean Spray. So yeah, so it's been amazing. So.
And
I love that.
Oh, there's a bunch of copycat videos of it, you know, like impersonating him. It was like,
oh my God, so
like 18 million views or whatever, right? He's probably up to 20.
That's crazy.
I'm obviously not getting on there enough and checking that out, but that's awesome. I love that story. Thank you for sharing that. So I have an exercise for you guys to do. Oh, Nicole's asking, who is this? Who did the video? Did this video? What's the guy's name? Can you put it in the chat box?
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in the chat box. Yeah. I'll
Okay.
put it in the chat box. And
okay, cool. So we're going to start today with a little bit of an exercise. And if you are near somewhere that you can have a piece of paper or even on your phone, get the notes section up. I want you to do a little exercise with me. So we're going to do, this is kind of a positive thought for the day, a way to start out your day. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes and I want you to just take time to write out all of the positive things that you can think of about yourself. So this is from John Maxwell's book, Intentional Living. And I mean, it's just an exercise anyway. So I want you to write down all of the positive things in the next 2 minutes that you can think about yourself. Okay, ready? You're gonna go ahead and start. Okay. So how many things did you come up with? Roughly how many things on the list did you come up with? Thinking about positive in less than 2 minutes, positive things about yourself.
I had 11.
Awesome. I
I
love
got stuck.
Okay, so you got stuck at 11. 11's good. So tell me, I'd love to hear one for everybody to share one positive thing that they thought of about themselves.
Thoughtful.
I love that. Okay, thoughtful. Nicole says 17, Crystal 11. What else?
Growth-minded.
Love that. Excellent.
Positive.
Great. Deanna, I love that.
Loyal.
Loyal. Okay, a couple more.
Creative.
Creative, Marcus. And then Tim, what was yours?
Honest.
Honest.
Aisha.
Well, hi, Aisha. So what did that exercise do for you? Is that something you ever do? Chris said entrepreneurial. That's great. Is that something you think about or ever go through the process of doing? What's the purpose of doing an exercise like that?
Self-reflection.
Self-reflection. Yes.
It makes you pause for a moment. Just kind of stop thinking about other things.
Yeah, it's a way for you to focus on something that's also positive. Self-reflection.
It made me understand my value.
That's great. Yes, Tim, very good. Okay, well, I love it. I think that that's something that's a good idea to do every once in a while. And, you know, you could do it every morning. A lot of people will do some kind of a gratitude exercise where you talk about what you're grateful for. it's just good. Sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit and we don't think about ourselves in a positive way. So it's a great way for you to have a moment with yourself. Like Keone said, self-reflection, and understand your value and who you are. And, you know, there could be things that you realize that you are and you're not practicing in your life. So when you want to be intentional about it, or if you want to grow any certain things or skill set or certain things that you would like to be and strive for, that you can work towards those things. So great. Thank you for doing that with me.
You know, Lisa, I would definitely say, I don't know if it's just me, but I'm pretty good at figuring out all the stuff I'm doing wrong. So it's kind of nice to acknowledge some of the stuff I do right.
That's good. Yes, we are very critical. We can be very critical of ourselves. So this is a way to, just like when you're grateful for something, you really look at what you've got going on that's pretty awesome. So yes, you don't need to think about anything that you need to improve. You're totally right about that. Okay, I wanted to share a story with you regarding the NAR's clear cooperation, and this has come up a couple times in the last week. And this is in regard to when NAR came up with their clear cooperation rule and the MLSs made changes in their local communities in terms of how they were going to handle that. And if you recall, those of you who've been in the business longer than when that happened this last year, we now have different policies when we're looking at putting listings in the MLS, where we can elect to have a property be a in-house property, or we can put a property in the MLS where it's participant only and not outside virtual office websites or outside public can see it. However, every member of RAM can see it, which is another option. And then of course, to put it in the MLS as a general listing, which is available to everybody and goes out to the public and maybe, you know, gets streamed or syndicated to virtual office websites. So a situation came up. I was actually talking to another broker about, it wasn't with us, although we've had some questions come up in regard to it, where an agent, so that brokerage had an agreement with an owner who was considering selling their property, and they had a written agreement where they had a listing, yet it was an in-house, a broker-only listing, a brokerage-only listing, which of course we have to notify RAM when we have those anyway too, right? We send a copy of our agreement, we notify them so they know that we're aware of how we're putting it in or not putting it in the MLS, if we're holding it back from the MLS or we're keeping it as an in-house listing. And what happened was another brokerage had a buyer that was interested in the same brokerage had a buyer that was interested in the listing, which was their in-house listing. And that buyer was interested in the property. And so they were talking to them about the property, which they can do, you know, if they're promoting it. However, this is where the question came up, and I'm glad Michelle is on here too, because I want to get your take on this. So what happened was they had a buyer, they had this signed agreement, which was not being promoted as a participant only. Then what happened is that buyer spoke to another agent in another firm about this property. Well, that other agent in the other firm had no knowledge of the property because it wasn't listed as participant only in the MLS. So I was talking to this broker and I said, and she said, so now, you know, my question is how do we handle that? Have you ran into this situation? And so the first question that I asked her was, do you have a buyer rep agreement with that client? Because then it's your client and they're not necessarily working with other agents, right? So now you can maybe have more control of having that information really working within your brokerage and not outside. And they said no. And that prospective buyer subsequently said, oh, I'm working with, you know, I'm not committed to any agent. I'm working with multiple people, so I'm not committed to anybody. So I'm curious for you brokers on the call and for Michelle, you know, have you run into the situation do we want to talk about instituting a best practice in regard to this rule whereby any person that we're working with, in order for us to share with them any of our in-house listings, which, you know, this is actually not super common, you guys, but it does happen, that we have a buyer rep agreement with them. So at least we're covering what we're supposed to be doing, where we have control over where that information is going to be shared. And then there's a disclosure in terms of these listings to not be shared outside of the brokerage, because as soon as we do share that information outside of the brokerage, what happens? We have to now put it in the MLS. So questions for brokers and Michelle. This was a situation that I was just talking to somebody about yesterday.
It's ironic that this is the topic, because one of my 2 items today is buyer's rep agreements.
Perfect. Okay, so I guess the point is it's a conversation thing, and I'd love to. I know you have a broker meeting, so it would be a really interesting thing for you guys to discuss in your broker meeting.
Yeah, part of the, you know, this is a multifaceted question. Number one, I'm not sure I have all the information, but based on what I've heard, you know, we should have some sort of clause in that buyer's rep agreement that is a non-disclosure agreement, an NDA, in the special terms of the buyer's rep agreement that says we are sharing with you in-house listings excluded from the MLS under a non-disclosure agreement. You agree not to discuss this property with any other person, period. People, agents, etc. That may cover it. I'd have to check with our attorney on that. But yeah, I think having a buyer's rep agreement, at least then you have an agency relationship. My understanding from the MLS and from NER is that once you disclose it to a client, the client is outside the brokerage, and then that triggers your 2-day notice. But I'm open to hearing what other brokers have to say, and I'll just take a listen.
Yeah, I think I would talk to the attorney about that, because obviously the question then comes up. I've heard that as well. However, then the question comes up is, it doesn't make any sense if you're having an in-house listing. The whole point is to be able to sell it to your client base, or to sell it in-house. I mean, that's why you do it, is to give an opportunity, assuming that it's in the best interest of the client, which is a whole nother conversation about whether, you know, those are really servicing the client depending on their situation. There are circumstances where it may. Those are fewer and further between. So I think it would be a really cool topic for the brokers for you guys to discuss, which I'm happy to be part of that conversation. And then we can figure out what we want to implement. And keep in mind, you guys, this is a newer rule, and different MLSs are handling it differently as well. So I want to caution you that if you're talking to agents or brokers in other states regarding how they're handling this, it may be that their MLSs have different rules, that their state laws have different in terms of disclosure. There's all sorts of factors or variables that can come in and vary from state to state. However, the general purpose was national in terms of the rule, and NAR encouraging the MLSs locally to participate at varying levels.
Lisa, Lee's going to discuss this with the MLS committee, but when I did speak to our attorney about it, he said you don't have to put it in MLS for 2 days. So if you're going to share it with your clients from your brokerage, share it simultaneously, and that gives you 2 days then to write offers before you have to put it in the MLS. But it was pretty clear it had to go in the MLS. I want to hear what Lee has to say.
Lee's saying 1 day. So Lee, yeah, if you can talk about that with the committee and just clarify in terms of the, you know, NAR's intention or what you guys were doing in interpreting it in regard to those items, that would be awesome. And sharing it with our client base and the buyer rep agreement. And I mean, again, I think part of that is attorney questions and from brokerage to brokerage. It's all clear as mud to him. That's wonderful. I'm so happy to hear that. Okay, well, hopefully it'll become a little bit clearer. I just wanted to let you guys know that that is something that came up. If you run into a situation where you meet with a potential seller and they are requesting or asking or inquiring about something whereby the property wouldn't be listed on the MLS or even shared with virtual office websites, or you think you're going to do something differently, whether it's participant only or it's going to be, quote, an in-house listing initially, talk to your broker about it first once that conversation comes up. Okay. Any other questions from anybody about that? Has anybody run into a situation that they would like to share, or have a question they want us to explore?
I have a question.
Yes.
I've never heard of this before. I'm also new to the industry, but why would somebody have something that they didn't want to put on the MLS? And how many do they have to put it on the MLS within 2 days? Is that what you were saying, or? So
that's a great question, Baron. Why wouldn't they want to put it on there? So there's varying reasons that people, privacy is a big one, right? If it's a property or an owner that is concerned or is in the public eye and wants to keep their affairs as private as possible, they may not want, to share their address. They may have situations going on in their life where they don't want public knowledge. That's one example. There's several other examples. That's one. And then as far as the rules, what I would encourage you to do is go into your zip form documents. And I always tell people, read the purchase contract every night before you go to bed if you want to be a great agent. And also look at your forms in there, including your MLS forms, and look at the participant only form. And then it used to be called the MLS exempt. I can't remember what it's called now, but it's something where it's the other version where it's not, where it's outside of the MLS, so to speak. So you have like where it's an in-house, it's in-house. I think it's called something like that, in-house brokerage form. So those are the two forms. Take a look, read through them. That'll give you a little bit more clarity. They're not the best written forms, although that will help. And then talk to your broker about it as well to understand it a little bit more.
Sometimes it's used for, most commonly, I think, is used for sellers prepping their house still.
That's another, yes.
And you want to sign the listing so you have it, and it gives the seller then time to, clean it up or whatever, paint it, whatever they're doing. Is kind of the intent of it, really. It's not supposed to be sneaky, like you're trying to get around putting it in the MLS to hustle the listing.
And that's a good point, because that's one of the reasons they created, NAR came down with that rule, because brokerages sometimes were using it to create a disadvantage to avoid cooperation, so to speak, for a period of time, or to create a disadvantage to try to sell their own listings, which the whole intention of it started becoming what was not in the best interest of the client, and not one of those situations. It was about how do we sell our own listings. And that was what they were trying to prevent. So relocation, another thing. Just personal circumstances that they have going on. If they have like really valuable things, that might be another. Anyway, they don't want people trampsing, open houses. They don't want people walking around through their property. Those are some of the reasons.
And some people should.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just have one more. I don't know if this is a simple question, but I'm hoping it's a short answer. In order for them to do that, is there a time limit on how long they can do that, or it's just based on whatever agreement is made between the listing agent that's not actually listing it in the MLS, or do they at some point have to, if it's not sold, put it in the MLS, or no?
Not necessarily, no. I mean, it depends. If you do certain things like Lee was talking about and Michelle, that may trigger where you have to put it in the MLS, then in that case you do. And there are rules around that. And again, every MLS is a little bit different. So, however, no, I mean, not necessarily, as far as I know, right, Michelle? I mean, they don't have to put it in there. They can keep it off if it falls within the guidelines of if we follow the marketing rules of what is required. Correct. Now, ultimately, though, you're asking good questions, Baron, because you're thinking, well, how does that really serve the person, and is that providing the biggest opportunity for them to be able to sell the property at the highest possible price? And that's part of the debate of this whole conversation, you know, the whole purpose behind it. Nicole's saying, wouldn't we just hold off on the start date if they're fixing it up? Yeah, it depends on the situation. Oftentimes that's the case. So,
well, let me chime in. Nicole, if you hold off on the start date from the time that you meet with them until the start date, some other agent could come in and sign that listing. So if I sign today to start November 1 and another agent comes and sees them, they could take that listing from today to October 31 and sell the house. And even though you had a November 1 start date, you're not protected in that interim period. So it's important that our agents are really clear about that.
Yes, absolutely. Great point.
If they never put it on MLS though, then that the only way to sell it is through dual agency because of it's listed at the brokerage.
Yes, as far as the if you're a member of the board, yes, as far as the MLS is concerned, that would probably technically be true to think about it. But yes, Baron, that's sounds right, because it would have to be, because once it's outside of an in-house listing, it has to go into the MLS. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Once it's shared outside of the brokerage. So otherwise,
okay. But if it's not shared, then it would stay, and they found a buyer and it wasn't listed in MLS, it would be a dual agency because the only people who could see it is the people in the brokerage.
Correct.
Agent.
Yep. Very good.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
Thank
you.
You're welcome. Okay. Bold. So a reminder for those of you who, I think most of the people on this call have been in Bold, unless you're newer to the company. Bold is starting up again October 20th, I believe, next week. And we are, Latasha's giving me a thumbs up. Yes, that was the right date. Thank you. The gold star. We are going to be offering scholarships again to some of our agents who want to take Bold. So if you have not taken it and you are interested in receiving a scholarship, reach out to, you can either send me an email or you can email front desk, Cheryl, frontdesk1002@kw.com, and just let us know that you're interested, because we're kind of looking for candidates who want to do that. And there's some criteria involved in that. So we can go over that with you. However, we are going to have, we do have some scholarships available for that next upcoming Bold.
Start date is when again, Lisa?
Colette has generously donated that. It is October 20th, next Tuesday.
Wow, quick.
Yep. And two other things. So Social Equity Task Force. Do we have anybody from the Social Equity Task Force on today on this call?
No, but I have an item that falls under that, one of my items for today.
Okay, so I'll let you go in a sec. I just wanted to, we're going to talk about the Social Equity Task Force at the team meeting, which is in 2 weeks, Monday the 26th, the Kahului team meeting. We talked about it at the last team meeting on the West Side last week, Thursday. We introduced Liza Rivera, who's our social equity ambassador or champion. And then we also had our members, some of our members of the task force there, which actually Latasha's on the task force. So Latasha is here. And then we, Dylan, Bodie, Lee Hay, Latasha, and Liza. That's everybody right now. Okay. So what I just want you to stay tuned for is some of the really cool things that they've been working on. Latasha, do you want to say anything about, I know you're like, oh, I'm always the representative of this, but Liza, we didn't invite them to this meeting. So what we should do next week is invite Liza and Lee, everybody to attend this meeting, so we can talk to the group. They can share with the group what they're doing in this forum as well.
Sure. I can speak a little bit, and then Michelle can say whatever is on her action item to do. So long story short, we have followed to the letter Gary Keller's directives. And so what we're doing is we're going to start with an intro into terms of understanding the directives coming directly down from Gary Keller, and then 2, listing out the 5-tiered tasks that he wants to accomplish by August 2021. And so within all the team meetings, we're sharing not only the directives, but also the tasks, the specific tasks that he wants to accomplish in our KW environment world, and then also promoting equity in general. The other cool thing that we're working on, and we'll get that to you for approval, Lisa, is we also want to be very transparent and share for those of the people that are looking to be a part of the committee. We are doing a questionnaire right now just to make sure that they understand the commitment and also understand the meetings that we have, so that moving forward, we can begin to put on, you know, future workshops and training and presentations. So we just want to make sure that moving forward, every communication is very clear and transparent about what our objectives are and what we're trying to do and what your involvement entails. So.
Okay, great. Yeah, so if people are interested, that's another reason I want Liza to come on and talk about what you guys are doing in case anybody is interested in being part of the task force. A couple people have reached out to me, so.
And I'll put her email in the chat, and then also our general email as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. Don Harris has a question regarding compliance, and he said, who do we send the escrow instructions to when we open the transaction? So I'll speak to it and you tell me if this is incorrect, Michelle. My understanding is you don't necessarily have to send them anywhere. The compliance starts approximately a week prior to closing. Is that right, Michelle? They start reviewing documents a week or so prior to closing? That's when
agents should submit their files 5 days prior for the initial run through of review for compliance.
Okay, so they don't have to send their escrow instructions to anybody. I mean, if you have a TC.
Well, they should be submitting them to escrow.
Oh,
escrow instructions get signed by a broker and go to escrow.
And then they should load it command so the broker has access
immediately.
Yeah.
So what my question is really is, do we send that to Craig or do we send that to our broker in charge that we use for everything else?
You send the escrow instructions to your broker for signature, and then you submit it to escrow. Okay. And then you upload it in command.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Okay, Michelle.
All right. Well, I had more things than we have time for today, as it's 1 till 9. So I'll just touch on one item, which is when you take a new listing and or hold open houses, please counsel your clients about securing their valuables and specifically prescriptions in their medicine cabinets. As people get more and more farther into COVID and benefits lag, and we continue, this is an all the time thing, but particularly now in a difficult time, I've heard some recent comments that people are again going into medicine cabinets, taking medications, taking valuables. So let's make sure when you take the listing and you're securing the property, you're advising your clients to secure their valuables, but particularly the prescriptions in their medicine cabinets. Maybe they empty them out and they put them in a locked box or a shoe box that they put in their trunk when you're there for open house. And it's a conversation we just need to revisit. So I'm going to leave the other items for next week, Lisa, because I've got quite a few things, but we'll start with that one.
Okay, just remind me and I'll give you whatever time you need. You can run the show.
Real quick.
Yes, Keone.
License renewals, the PVL site will go live on October 19th at 12:01 a.m. for all you night owls. Anyway, so you can go on there and renew, and they suggest that you renew by November 30th, actually, to guarantee you will be licensed come January 1st. So I would suggest that you do not wait anywhere in December. They get backed up. And so you're not guaranteed to have an active license come January 1st if you do not renew by November 30th. So it's all online. Go online, you pay, you answer the questionnaire, and you're good to go. So just a friendly reminder.
renewed, you cannot practice real estate. Just as a reminder.
Yes, thank you, Sam. Thank you. And also, yeah, don't stay up, like if you're really excited about this and renewing, don't stay up till 12:01 on 10/19 because Michelle is going to have to make sure she renews hers first before anybody else can. So just give her a minute to do that. And she probably won't be up at 12:01.
You can renew before her. They're just going to hold it. And then
Okay. I wasn't sure if you could even, they would even let it go through. It would even go through if she hadn't.
I think I renewed a while ago.
Yeah, some people are submitted, so I think it does.
Okay. So it won't be effective or whatever. They won't process until Michelle is in. Okay. Great. And lastly, I would like to wish Keone a happy 2-year anniversary with Keller Williams Realty Maui. October is Keone's 2-year anniversary with us, and we are so grateful for you. Oh my gosh. You are amazing. So thank you for everything you do.
Oh, thank you for that. It's been a great 2 years. And
I'm like,
hopefully,
where has the 2 years gone?
I know.
That's impressive to be at that
Yeah,
point.
he's hung in there with us. It's because you guys are so great. We have the
That's
best
right.
agents.
job easy. Right?
Yes. Okay, that's all I have for today, you guys. Is anything else? Does anybody have anything else? All right. Have an amazing rest of the week, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, you guys. Good to see you.
Thank you.